Welcome, folks, to the next episode of BattleTech Simplified. I'm Michael Shockman, I'll be your host and commentator, and on today's episode we will be covering the mech, the quintessential mech of the Inner Sphere that is, by almost all of its proponents, considered the quintessential fire support mech of the Inner Sphere. Today we will be covering the Catapult. The Catapult is an offense-oriented second-line fire support battle mech, initially produced from 2561 to 2563 on a limited contract for the Terran hegemony. Representing Hollis Incorporated's first foray into the mech market, the Catapult was produced in record numbers over its initial 3-year period from the company's brand new state-of-the-art factory. However, even the contract when the contract came up for review in 2563, the hegemony decided to not renew it. While the Catapult had performed adequately in its role, it was not quite what they wanted. With large numbers of the mechs still in the field, the Catapult would continue to see use in the Star League Defense Force, with second-line and specialist formations, such as mountaineering regiments. When the factory constructing them switched over to the more successful Battlemaster, Hollis's limited production of spare parts couldn't keep up the design's numbers from dwindling. When the Star League fell, many of the remaining catapults joined Alexander Kerensky in his exodus. The compelling Confederation collected most of the catapults that remained in the Inner Sphere, and the Hollis factory on Kori briefly produced new models and spare parts. At the same time, the Draconis Combine managed to seize a sizable force in their capture of Darren. The renewed production ended, however, when the Kori factory was destroyed at the onset of the First Succession War, ensuring the rarity of the Catapult during the rest of that bloody era. Entire invasions were commenced simply to seize the remaining numbers of these mechs, particularly those launched by the Federated Suns against the Confederation. Many variants of this venerable design were produced through its lifetime, and the Catapult's rarity began to reverse in 3033, when Yori Mechworks was contracted by the DCMS to restart production of the Catapult K2 on Al Nair. The greatest change of the chassis came later, with the production of the CPLT C3, which swapped the original LRMs for much larger and more powerful artillery missiles. These models were put to excellent use, especially when paired with Ravens, who paved the way for new design advancements. In the many years prior to and after the Klan invasion, the Confederation and the Combine retained the largest number of existing catapults, though many periphery realms would field some of the centuries-old models, and more variants would be produced for decades. The primary weapons of the Catapult are two Holly LRM-15 launchers, which allow the Catapult to give friendly units fire support at ranges of over 600 meters. In case an enemy closes to within the LRM's minimum range, the mech carries 4 Martel medium lasers, which are usually enough to dissuade most light and medium mechs from closing with the Catapult. Since the Catapult was designed to stand well behind the main line of battle, it lacks any anti-infantry weapons or arms for close quarters combat. Its greatest weakness, though, is ammunition. With only 1 ton or 8 reloads for each launcher, the Catapult has a level of endurance which is barely acceptable by most standards. 10 tons of armor, 15 heat sinks, and a cruising speed of 43.2 kilometers per hour serves the Catapult well in its mission of launching long-range missiles on the enemy from great distances while minimizing the risk of return fire. The use of 4 jump jets in the left and right rear torso gives the catapult a jumping distance of 120 meters and the ability to pace faster units over broken terrain. The original Anderson 21 model jump jets tended to break down over prolonged use, venting into the machine's interior and overheating the mech. A general recall in 2566 to replace the 21s with improved Anderson 25s solved the issue, though some catapults never received this retrofit. The mech is also unique for having sideways ejection system, which, while generally safe, can be quite a bit of a surprise for new catapult pilots. As for my personal feelings on the catapult, ladies and gentlemen, it is one of my favorite heavy mechs, seeing as it is it and one of our later mechs in this particular season of things are the two name contributors to one of my favorite mechs, and actually the mech that is the poster child for the series of Mech Warrior and of BattleTech, that being the Mad Cat, is kind of funny, and I just love what the catapult can do. It's got 4 medium lasers. I mean, I know some medium mechs that are dedicated dedicated attack mechs that have less medium lasers than that. Plus, it's got 2 11-15s. I mean, what can you ask for that's better than that, honestly? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. Hope you have enjoyed. If you have, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Also, check out the links down in the description if you want to know more. Stay tuned for next week when we cover the 70-ton level of things. I think you'll really enjoy that mech. A lot of people have been enjoying a lot of the other videos that are out on YouTube about this particular mech, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. But until then, guys, remember, I'm Michael Shockman. I've been your host and commentator, and remember, as always, no guts, no galaxy. Later, everybody.